We wanted to bring you some updates on the political situation here at home. There's a new polling previewing 2024 that we thought we would bring to you that actually it's in some ways not as bad for Biden as I thought it could be. Let's go ahead and put this up on the screen. So if you had a rematch, Biden versus Trump, at least according to this pollster, it would be effectively a tie, 44 for Biden, 44 for Trump. Now, if you had Trump versus Harris, he wins. If you have Trump versus Hillary Clinton, he also wins. Right. So even as lackluster as Biden has been, he still is probably the best that the Democrats have to offer. And by the way, this same pollster had asked the same question a month or so ago. And at that time, Biden had a little bit of an edge over Trump. So he's kind of faded somewhat. And, you know, one thing that was interesting here in this particular poll is they dug into how people felt about his handling of Ukraine. And they were generally fairly positive. We got decent ratings there. But when you ask voters if they agree with the statement that, quote, Biden's mismanagement of the withdrawal from Afghanistan has emboldened countries like Russia and China to be more aggressive, 61% of voters agreed. And that is the line that you hear from Republicans all the time. And let me also say that type of sentiment is exactly why these wars last for so long, because every politician knows they're going to get hurt the moment that they do the, like, you know, the dovish thing and pull us out of a conflict. They are only ever rewarded really by the media for the most hawkish behavior. And so you see even now with some quite hawkish moves made by the Biden administration, still the drumbeat is always, you have to do more, you have to be strong, you have to do more. So I just thought that was an interesting note here. At the same time, the Biden administration is leaning all the way into this idea that inflation has nothing to do now with anything except what's going on with Russia. Let's take a listen to what he had to say.
Make no mistake. The current spike in gas prices is largely the fault of Vladimir Putin. It has nothing to do with the American Rescue Plan. Back to Wall Street. Wall Street estimated that the San Francisco Federal Reserve analyzed it, said the rescue plan contributed only 0.3% to inflation. 0.3%. That's coming from the Fed. Rescuing our economy didn't cause this problem, but we're working to fix it.
You know,
Putin inflation.
So here's the thing.
Good luck.
Look, he's right to say that the American Rescue Plan is not really the issue, but we all know that inflation and gas price rises were happening before all of this in Russia. So people aren't stupid. You got to level with them. I mean, they can handle a nuanced and complex situation. So I actually thought the messaging that he had before, like that he just had in the State of the Union about, hey, there are some people who want to deal with inflation by basically making you poorer so you can't buy anything. Right. That's not my plan. My plan is to actually build on our infrastructure and fix our supply chain and take these corporations to task. That is a much better message than what I think is, you know, they're looking for this sort of cheap and easy ability to shirk any sort of responsibility here. And people know that Russia is obviously complicating the situation, making it worse. They thus far are willing to, engage in some financial sacrifice because they think it's going to help the Ukrainians. But I don't think that this is going to sell with the American people when we all know that prices have been going up for a long time.
I completely agree with you. It's not going to sell. The best inflation-tested message the Biden administration ever had, per their own internal polling, was that the best way to deal with inflation is to build more things in America again. True. And I'll be talking in my monologue specifically about how China's idiotic COVID-0 policy is about to make all of us a lot more poor, even though none of us actually signed up for that type of system. And just to give you an idea of how devastating this is for the Democratic Party and for Biden specifically, go ahead and put this up there, which is a Wall Street Journal poll, which is that non-white voters right now are the most likely to say that high inflation in the last 4 decades is triggering a major financial strain in their lives, and that is giving Republicans a massive edge with them relative to their previous position. Of course, it makes sense, which is that Non-white Americans are disproportionately more likely to be poor. Inflation is a tax upon the working class and specifically upon the poor. Gas prices are a tax on rural working class Americans as well, all of whom are also likely to not be white. And you put that together with the fact that almost half of incomes less than $60,000 are reporting major financial strain, while just 13% of those making $150,000 are to do so. The current Democratic Party's base are those people between 60 to 150,000, the 135,000 crew to the 400,000 crew, the Weinwoms and all those people of America. When I say base, I mean the cultural base, not necessarily the voting base. These are the people traditionally who have voted for them, and they're all talking within these within the story. They're like, hey, look. He literally says, Uncle Joe has put us on a diet. I like to have a steak once or twice a month. I can't do that now. Stevens is a registered Democrat who voted for Barack Obama for president and then Trump in 2016. But he said he's more likely right now to back Republicans because of inflation. Look, the guy voted for Trump, so, take that with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
I would just say, though, that people don't fit the typical identity politics mold, and they're getting nuked by inflation. And the Biden administration, blaming it on big bad Putin, it's just not going to work, no matter what. You could say we're going to build things in America again, but guess what? He hasn't presented a single plan before Congress. Build back better. Imagine presenting before a major global crisis the exact same plan as you had before. What type of innovative thinking is that?
Well,
it's
that was
idiocy.
That was one of the things we talked about on the State of the Union night is like, okay, did you really scrap the old speech?
Right. No, you
and
didn't.
Use this moment to bring people together and paint a portrait of how we're going to deal with this crisis and how we're going to come together as a country, make ourselves strong. We're going to invest in renewable energy, nuclear Green New Deal or whatever. Like, pull it together. And we're going to make things in America. I agree with you that would land across the board with Republicans, independents, and Democrats. In fact, there's a dude who's quoted in this Wall Street Journal piece who's going to vote for Republicans who said exactly that.